So, hello everybody, and welcome to the Vox CATO webinar today about thinking differently in the new tourism dynamic. It's an absolute pleasure to have you all join us. We are in various different time zones around the world, but I'll let the panel introduce themselves by initially introducing Andy Lawrence, our commercial director.
Yeah, well, good morning here from the UK anyway, and thank you very much, John, and good afternoon to those of you in Australia. It's my pleasure to be here today and to be part of the, or be hosting the Q&A panel that we will have after John's done his presentation. Well, we won't hang around, so I'd like to introduce to you, well, unfortunately, I'll introduce to you Peter Smith, who is our Managing Director in Australia. He's currently got no voice, so we can't hear him. So Peter, would you like to give us a wave? Hopefully come the Q&A session, Peter will be joining us as well, and we'll have sound by then as well. We also as well have with us today Dallas Newton, who is our Business Development Manager in Australia. So Dallas, introduction.
Nice to join everybody this afternoon in Australia. A beautiful sunny day down here in Melbourne, but rest assured that I'm down here in Melbourne, happy to help out at any stage that I can, and looking forward to today's webinar.
Fantastic, thank you, Dallas. And we're lucky enough as well to have from sunny Italy, Francesco Epifani. God, stumbling this morning. Francesco.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, or good afternoon, good evening from the cloudy Rome. I'm not as expert as my colleagues, as you can see from my age, but I've been working in Vox for 10 years, so in this sense, I'm a Vox expert, and I'm very looking forward to answering all your questions about Vox and our tools. John, back to you.
Great, thanks guys. So yeah, I'm John Boulding. I'm the CMO at Vox. I've had a lot of experience in the industry, and like Dallas, I think we go back to quite a few crises, don't we, Dallas, if we look at what we've been through. All right, guys, I'm going to take this into manageable chunks. We're going to talk just a very brief introduction on Vox Group. We'll look at the world now and understand a little bit about what's going on. Talk about the new tourism dynamic, the way forward. About smart applications, because we believe this has got a major role in part of the recovery. Look at data and trends, some new innovations, and then some next steps, and of course Q&A, and we're very much looking forward to talking to you. Who is Vox? Some of you know us, many of you know Peter and Dallas, of course, but Vox is the world's leading provider of voice and multimedia interpretation for tourism and culture. A lot of it's about cutting edge technology and tour guide systems hardware, and we ship these and do logistics for these all over the world, over 55 offices and so on, and we handle some very, very big global customers, tour operators, cruise lines, but also some institutions as well, big ones like St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, Chenonceau Castle, Palace of Versailles, Mont Saint Michel, Belfast Cathedral. I mean, very, very long, big list. But we've also got tourism management software as a big part of what we do, and we build and supply smartphone applications, and very importantly, the content for those as well. We're not just an app producer for business partners in all travel sectors, but above all, we focus on providing innovation really for our business partners, and that drives the business, and it's why we've been involved in so many efforts recently to spread the word about moving forward in a crisis. Now, the crisis, the word comes from krisis, meaning Greek, meaning decision. And there are many, in modern marketing parlance, you'll hear many different quotes, but my favorite is this one: a crisis is the blessing, greatest blessing for people and nations, because a crisis brings progress. And that was Albert Einstein. And I think that is exactly how we feel about it, in the sense that forward-thinking organizations in tourism can create opportunities here. It's going to change things. It's going to be extremely tough. We've seen everything going on. I mean, we all read the papers, we all watch LinkedIn or read LinkedIn and contribute to it, many of us. But we know that change is afoot, and we've got to address that. And one of the fundamental reasons for this is that people are going to be thinking differently in the new dynamic. You know, travelers for a long time have sought a greater degree of personalization and flexibility during their vacations. In my time at Insight Vacations, we were always looking for ways of introducing individual, more special local experiences for people. So that's sort of been a long-held desire of people, and that isn't going to change. People are still going to want that even more so. And we have to think about how to do this very truly as a local experience, not just as a group local experience, I think, in the future. So we've got to think carefully about that side. But post-crisis, they're going to be thinking even more carefully about how they travel and what they want from their experiences. And most certainly, they're going to be seeking more personalized encounters with local people. There'll be self-imposed social distancing, and people are going to be more wary of crowds. I don't think that's any surprise, but they'll also have new interests. And that's a topic to embrace as well, because, you know, sitting at home under lockdown, people have watched a lot of TV, resorted to documentaries, many people as well, or enjoyed documentaries, but certainly learned about a whole new way of doing things. And that is going to come through in the recovery as well. And more importantly, even than that, I think, is that people have obtained a huge boost to their technical skills during lockdown, even older people. And honestly, I've been involved in tech now for 2.5 years with Vox, and I can tell you, so many people have said to me in the past, yeah, but my customers, my clients, my guests, well, they're older, you know, they don't use technology. And that wasn't true, actually. I probably nodded and said, yes, okay, but it actually wasn't true. They do. But right now, it's changed. It's really changed. Grandparents have been talking to their kids on devices. They've been using devices for information, for entertainment, whether it's researching which films to watch or whatever, entertainment, and just generally knowledge. And so they're very familiar right now with how to use devices, and they're going to want to embrace these digital services when they're traveling. How will the recovery pan out? Well, there's a lot of commentators out there. We've been saying for 5 weeks now on seminars, and it is the general concurrence right now that the momentum is building and domestic travel will be the first opportunity. I don't think there's any doubt. In all probability, it's going to happen fairly quickly. And with the Australia-New Zealand bubble, I'm sure there'll be some trans-Tasman stuff going on as well. And that might even be possibly during May or June or July or whatever. And that'll be the same pattern in other countries. In Italy or in Spain, there'll be domestic travel going on. I saw the comments from Alan Joyce the other day, a survey of QF frequent flyers indicated 85% are ready to go as soon as they can. Interestingly, I also saw a survey yesterday from TripAdvisor, who surveyed 5,000 of their travellers, and 89% of those respondents said they'd be comfortable to travel internationally within 6 months, and 48% said they'd be happy to travel internationally within 3 months, and actually within 2 months was 24%. So, you know, and that's just a booking pattern, really. So I think that what will happen next, and again, Alan Joyce backed it up, something we've been saying for nearly 5 weeks, is that the thing that's going to drive international travel is cheap airline deals. That will happen. And I know everybody says, well, the airlines are going bust and they can't do anything, and the middle seats and whatever, but they have to do it, and they will do it, and they've always done it, and they did it after the Gulf War. British Airways released 50,000 seats completely free of charge on 1 day of flying, and it transformed the kickback from first Gulf War. It all came back very, very quickly. It's a different situation, but this is going to happen, and accommodation deals and so on. So it's going to be highly competitive in that period, but that will be followed, and probably 2021, by a stronger upturn in FITs as people return, and then you'll get the MICE with conferences being rescheduled. And then, of course, all the main groups and tourism and so on will come back boosted by pent-up demand. So we may see some wobbles during this period, but undoubtedly FITs in the first instance are going to be the most resilient and able to resurge more quickly. So I think those are key factors to remember. But we're going to face some challenges, some big challenges. There's a new normal, and that's going to demand cooperation, groundwork, anticipation, and elasticity in the way that we think about our products. And it's vital to acknowledge that point that we discussed before, the aspirational behavioural preferences of customers and the legislative horizon under which we're going to operate. So that's one side, the controls. The second side is the early market's going to be hyper competitive because of discounting and desperate needs to get some volume and some cash flow back, whatever it takes. It'll be super competitive, and market share is going to be critical. Of those people traveling, you want them for you, and we have to think about that as a dynamic that's necessary, but is out there. And the early market's going to be weak to begin with. Higher markups are going to be difficult, and sales might be further damaged by venue opening limited, restricted time slots, enforced capacity issues, and so on. And service providers are going to have to reorganize the way that they manage venues and crowds and ticket lines, and making provision for restricted tourist flows, perhaps one-way flows like the supermarkets, or distancing, sanitization, washing, security, and education of visitors. And it'll change the whole approach, I think, of the world's top tourist spots, from the Eiffel Tower to the Empire State, and from Mecca to the Forbidden City. Wherever it is, these are going to have to change. And group guided tours will find more restrictions too on time slots, group size, and distancing. And travellers may prefer, going back to this technology thing, to self-guide sometimes, not just for safety, but also because they find it's a different way of travelling that they are now more appreciative of. But there'll be legislative changes to guiding practices for sure. In the period pre-COVID, which is my sort of illustration on the left, it was possible for groups to huddle, if you like, if that's the right word, so their guide could speak directly to them at close quarters. But in the future, we're going to see operators being obliged to use professional tour guide systems to allow groups to stay distanced. And these can be radio devices or transmitters for the guide, or the ability to transmit wirelessly to units that people have in their pocket, their mobile phone. So that is another area too, communicating directly over wireless, and that can be many forms, we'll talk about that later, to suitably distance guests. And self-guiding is the major opportunity, really, because this is to do with FITs. It's the most opportune thing, because there are so many sophisticated digital apps out there that can allow multilingual audio guiding of hundreds of sites and venues triggered by geotagged autoplay. And there's various levels, we'll cover that as well. But how can we stay ahead of the competition? Because that's what we've got to do, because it's market share at the end of the day, at least in the beginning. And success will lie in changing the product mix and the price value proposition that you have, or cost value proposition, to market more effectively. And we see this window now, this lockdown, as an opportunity in which to prepare for the future. But we've got to use it, because it's quickly running out. Time is running out that we have available to plan. 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, people were sitting around to a degree twiddling their thumbs. But right now, it's starting to move, and we have to be ready if you're going to gain and get market share. And I think that means using smart digital services effectively. Now, the first thing that can be done, of course, is packaging commodities and other tourism content with smart technology products, and that allows you to self-brand things to differentiate against competitors. So, for example, if you were selling flights, or you were selling hotels, or you were selling car rental, or whatever, if you wrap it up with digital products, which are very inexpensive to wrap up with it, you've suddenly created a package that allows you to increase margins and permanently change the name of the game in your favor, something branded as you, something special for you. And I say very inexpensively. And then the rebound, depending on the sector, basic services, let's face it, such as navigable mapping and tourism information, are going to be expected, even by the older generation, as we discussed before. And let's face it, paper is dead. The days of going to Rome and having a massive, great map that's handed to you with adverts all around it, trying to promote this, that, and the other. And when you're older like me, and you look at it, or Dallas, and you look at it and you can't read it because the print's too small, it's pretty useless. And after lockdown, I'm now very familiar with my mobile phone. I can very easily scroll and zoom and use a mapping device and find my way around and get information. Why would I want paper? Honestly, I mean, that is something we're going to have to address, and technology is here to do this. There are different types of technology. There are basic travel apps, that provide the mapping and tourist information downloads. And then you've got more sophisticated versions that package with multilingual audio guiding, creating walking routes and interior visits, and much more, along with sponsorship opportunities, stakeholder functionality, and e-commerce opportunities as well. But you've got to understand the platform that you're thinking of using, because there are thousands of apps out there in travel that are available. But you've also got to think of the app, and you've got to think of the resources that it will tap into. Just to explain apps for a second, and it's very important to understand this basic stuff. There are some apps that are called web apps. that are basically written for any platform, and they are simply, really, honestly, just downloading a website onto your phone. That's what they really are. So they're not written for the phone. They don't take full advantage of the phone's technology, and it's streaming all the time. Then you've got hybrid apps that reside on the phone, but they pull down data, quite a lot of data. And they stream data down, so that's data roaming all the time, and again, they're not fully engaged with the phone and all its technology. And then you've got native apps which are resident on the phone, and they are written in the language of the phone. And the important thing here is that this allows them to take full advantage of the phone's technology, the accelerometer, the altimeter, the gyroscope, the GPS, the ability to be able to triangulate with cell towers to get a faster time to first fix, as they call it, of GPS. Because the cell towers will tell the phone where it is, even if they're not data roaming. It'll tell the phone where it is, which allows it to tell the satellite, the GPS, where it is. So that sort of thing is very different when you come to native apps. And then you've got the content, and this is important too. One of the biggest things that I think comes up is, well, why not use Google Maps? Well, there are very many reasons why you don't want to use Google Maps, actually. And the first reason is control of content. You want to control the content for your customer in your particular sector, so it delivers the experience that he's expecting from the standards that you provide. That's the first thing. Then you want to brand it. You want it to be personalized for you and your business, to create opportunities to visit the things that you recommend, or the things that will best suit your customer, rather than the plethora of things that come with Google Maps. And then there's data. The one thing we've got to remember here, guys, is that the data we've just had for the last 30 years, 10 years, 5 years, 1 year, is irrelevant today, because the patterns are going to change. You need new data. And if you think that you're going to get data from Google Maps, then you must be kidding. The only people getting that are those very nice folks over in Mountain View in California. So that's some of the sort of thing you've got to think about in technology. So we need some strategies here about how to take this forward. And we think, you know, I think this has been the theme here, really. It's about thinking differently, staying ahead of the competition. The critical trigger for a swift post-COVID recovery will lie in your marketing story at the end of the day, and then, of course, your operational delivery, your promise that you make. And these have got to synchronize with the new aspirations and the preferences that we've just talked about of your prospects during the all-important dream, plan and execute process. And let's remember that might be condensed very much in the initial bounce back for some, because they'll take advantage of cheap offers, and for others who are a little more nervous, it'll be a much longer process. So there's a lot of elasticity in the dream, plan and execute process, but you've got to appeal to them for their new aspirations and new preferences, and that means you've got to present a changed product to them now. And if you get it right, changing the product mix and complementing your products with digital content will transform your proposition without changing your basic tenets, about changing your basic program, because it's about complementing, not replacing your existing products. But customers using technology then will be better able to customize their personal experiences and enable you to dramatically improve the success rate, your success rate, in target customer segments that you have. And in the rebound, depending on your sector, basic services that we've described, like navigable mapping, tourist information, are going to be expected, and that technology is there. So just understand the platform, make sure that you've got it right, and then you can build forward. Let's look at the different sectors. And I know with CATO, we've got a tour operator base, but we've also got associates that are our members. So we'll look across the different sectors, starting with tour crews and DMCs, because that really is the core of CATO. So we'll consider this first. I think traditional triggers such as comfort, guidance, security, price, value for money, group dynamic, quality, and so on will remain important, because that's why people are buying the product, have always bought the product. But the new dynamic means that they'll also be looking for a higher degree of flexibility, personalization, and health and opportunities, and to be away from the crowd sometimes. So that's where digital tools can come in. They remain in the pocket of the individual, they can be employed at any time, and they add that extra layer of freedom, exploration, knowledge, security, with the added advantages of never getting lost, which is going to benefit you too, and multilingual narrative. And that's important, because if you've got multilingual narrative, you're able to consolidate sometimes across language bases. And employing digital, even though it means changing the product mix a little, is very inexpensive. And those fears that you may have had previously about, well, if I use digital, people will run off and do their own thing, or I'll lose control. That's not going to happen. It's like robots. I know the films will tell you the robots are going to take over, but they're not. I mean, they're programmed by humans, and digital tools are programmed by you. So it's not going to happen. And if you make the right choices of technology, then guests will remain entirely under your branding and influence, while they're making the most of their free time and other usage opportunities that you provide. And more importantly, smart technology will help them enjoy the chance to be a little more independent while staying safely within your group environment. And the objective at the end of the day, as I said, is not to replace your existing products, but to complement and to balance things. But when they use this type of thing, guests can use the technology in their free time to enjoy self-guided sightseeing and walking tours created by you, unique to you, to suit the interests that they have, that they have. And during that time, they're going to enjoy high quality audio storytelling for points of interest, autoplay functionality, and so on. They'll never get lost, because we can program, or you can, you program in these types of devices. You program your hotel location. They can use personal pins to track pickup points of the buses or coaches or cruise ports, and favorite places. They can step out in the evening from their hotel or their ship, or if they're bored, and explore the area, navigating securely back home whenever they wish. And you can even create real sort of engaging experiences with local vendors, like food tasting experiences or market visits, that sort of thing, where they're tasting food using digital technology. And these, of course, are unlimited by local resources, buses, guides. They're unlimited by capacity, because it can be one person, or it can be 100 people, or 1,000, or a million people, hopefully for you, and creating independent optional or independent shore excursions is another possibility too. So lots of areas there in tour operating, cruising, and DMCs. But destinations can think about it too, and DMOs. The factors, again, influencing decision on choice of destination, whether it's local or whether it's regional or national, are many. And aside from perceived costs and value for money of a destination, these can include expected opportunities for culture, escape, learning, relaxation, prestige even in certain destinations, fitness, adventure, culinary exploration, social interaction, and so on. But in the new dynamic, again, they're always going to be seeking this higher degree of flexibility and personalization, and along with the health and the distancing and so on. So that's pretty much going to be a norm for every sector. And smart technology will help guide visitors to realize their preferences. Operating on the user's smartphones constantly in their possession can be used day or night. They add that extra layer of confidence if they're independent, or freedom if they're traveling in groups of some kind, and allow you to communicate a destination message along with a multilingual narrative as well. And you can use technology to communicate, to welcome, to connect and influence visitors before, during and post travel, and improve tourism flows as well by creating walking routes, for example, that move people from one area of town into another area, into an area you want to develop, to deal with tourism rushes as well. You know what it's like at midday, where perhaps in a certain place where you have Russians and Japanese all lining up trying to get on a midday tour, not enough guides, not the right language. But using technology, they can enjoy the city and explore the city in their own way and at their own pace. And it's equally easy to create speciality tours like Young Explorers, or pub tours and artisan experiences, and bring in art and bring in themes and bring in festivals and so on into this type of technology. And supporting multiple categories of city services too. And devices not limited by time slots or local availability will give you much more control. And then you get push notifications and e-commerce and stakeholder promotions and so on. And more than that, it changes the destination experience and marketing message for the new era, so that your city or your destination can either absorb regional or bring in or be involved in regional or local budgets or funding, and it's very quick and easy to implement. That's the thing. Between the period of now to the recovery, you could actually have this stuff up and running. And then sightseeing and attractions, a big area, of course, and a growing area. The area that's probably going to suffer pretty much the hardest of all. A lot of new entrants in this area into sightseeing and attractions. And traditional purchases such as the appeal of open-top buses or local guiding, unusual themes, one-stop shop and value for money and independence and so on, those are going to remain again, possibly being increased in appeal. But the new dynamic are looking again for this social distancing and so on. So digital tools can help. You know, with city guiding, for example, it's possible to create walking tours that enable people to join at any time and be flexible. Even with local guides or hosts that might escort people around a route, that can be multilingual if you're using digital technology to provide different languages. And again, although it's changing the product mix, you can alleviate pinch points on open-top sightseeing, creating unmissable visits, using free entry venues to be able to expand what you're doing, to create advertising income, e-commerce opportunities and so on, to bolster the profits and to build partnerships, and to be able to create hybrid solutions perhaps that are part tour, part self-guided. And again, tour operators or cruise lines can do the same as well, to create these excursions that allow people to tour with a vehicle perhaps around the outer area and then do something walking tour in the middle of the old city or whatever it might be, and that can be switched, so you can have one part of a group doing one thing and then switching and so on. So many opportunities to monetize on free entry venues, to be able to develop unusual and new areas of town, so and of your venues to be able to create things. And talking of venues, you know, I think looking at museums and culture, again, the choices in the past have always been on perceived value, of dwell time, of expected opportunities for culture escape and prestige again and learning. In the new dynamic, people will be choosing venues that they believe are venues that are good and safe to visit, and that's going to require this flexibility of how the operation is run. And smart technology can help, because instead of sending people around in a group or letting them just wander around, you can improve dwell time, keep people separated by letting them self-guide using technology on their own phones. And of course that gets over the issue, as always, of limited availability of hardware in a museum or a venue, of hardware audio devices. And of course they require cleaning, and those have to be constantly looked after, whereas digital is something that allows this extra freedom. So you can improve cultural visits, increase dwell time. And if you've got your own app, and this is across all sectors actually, if you have your own app, there is a functionality that will be available in pretty much most apps that you have, that's called WebView, which allows some of this digital destination management technology and content to be streamed through into your own phone. So that's an interesting area. Lastly, really talking about OTAs, we'll talk about MICE very quickly in a second, but OTAs very quickly. Again, they're going to be, and travel agents, you're going to be in a highly competitive area. There's going to be a massive drive by every supplier to sell anything that they can, and of course, customers, some of them will think that they can go direct. So there is a really tight area here of commodities that you've got to be careful of. You've got to package up, you've got to change the way that you sell, and it's easy to do that. You can transform commodities into higher value packages by adding audio content, self-guided tours of a city, that sort of thing, venue audio and so on. And that'll overcome net ticket pricing, it'll overcome margin issues, and it'll help monetize things that were not possible before. And again, all of this can always be branded as your own. And just to touch on MICE very quickly, again, you know, organizer benefits are in this area, that using technology that includes the city, not just the destination. And of course, many big organizers of MICE have got apps that allow scheduling and that sort of thing, but they don't really have the content of the city in quite the same way, or the flexibility of using everything through the same channel. And with digital technology today, not only can they navigate the venue, but they can enjoy their stay so much better for the whole vacation that they have after their event. And of course, you're part of that. It's your branding, and it stays with them, and you're geotagging secondary venues and dining and entertainment and your sponsors, and floor plans are in their pocket. And then you've got rich data on what people were doing pre and post event. And the delegates just have confidence because they can actually navigate to the event and get much more out of the city. But whatever happens, the one thing that you can also think about is that digital does tread lightly. You know, it requires no separate or extra hardware. It reduces printed materials. It helps you optimize tourist flows if you're a destination, and reduces crowding. It also helps educate, and that's really important, and it engages with destinations and with stakeholders. And very importantly, we all know the world of over-tourism, which will, I'm sure, come back at one point. It engages with local people as well. And I think those are very good reasons to be also considering how digital could be part of the mix. So how does Vox fit into this? I mean, that's the sort of story of the digital opportunity. But how can Vox fit into this? Well, firstly, we've got Vox tools that can help, and I think particularly relevant is a tool called Pop Guide. Now, this is a very, very powerful native app that resides on the phone. So as I indicated before, that type of app takes full advantage of every phone's full technology of the phone. It's a very powerful destination tool, and it allows very flexible content that is unique to you, created and mixed differently for you, so it's unique to you, and it's designed for B2B. It's a product that is branded as yours. It's a product that has bespoke content. It's got powerful functionality, simple user interface, and think about it as an experience, not an app, because it really is an experience. It's something that engages people in a destination. Then there's Vox City, which is basically taking Pop Guide and creating a fixed content of a city, which can then be retailed. So for a travel agent, that's a great product because it allows you just to sell as an add-on to other products. But the real opportunity today is talking about how to mix Pop Guide, which can be called Vox City, into your product mix so that it's packaged in and it changes the way that your product works. There's also white label opportunities. Of course, we can brand it entirely as yours, even on the App Store. But when it comes to apps, Vox, as I said at the beginning, is not just an operator of apps. We're also a content provider. And we have a full-time team of researchers, copywriters, translators, editors, recording studios, and a vast library of content and multimedia tools for the development of the programs that you might want. We've got 600 cities backed up around the world, including all Australia and New Zealand cities. We have many cities already fully built out across the world. In Australia, I know we've got Brisbane, for example. We've also got multiple cities all over Europe and in the US and in Asia and so on, fully built out with hundreds of points of interest. But Pop Guide itself, in a city environment, is a city in your pocket. It's providing multilingual sightseeing, personalized experiences, walking trails, multimedia content, tourism information, and your company information and communications of over hundreds of points of interest in multiple languages. So you've got fully navigable mapping, interactive floor plans, and downloads are quick and easy, and it works in a way that makes the customer feel that you're in their, as a concierge, if you like, in their pocket, looking after their interests and helping them throughout their stay. And it's integrated in your brand. And then there are interior visits. We call them unmissable visits because usually they're designed to be compiled for major venues that can benefit from a highlight visit, perhaps the top 15 sites or of an area of town or a museum or whatever. You're looking on the screen at Westminster Abbey in London, by the way. That's one of the ones, and Covent Garden on the left. But these can be compiled very quickly, and they work with a simulated 3D mapping that allows your customer to zoom and scroll and then touch each item that then plays the multilingual audio back for them in their own language, their own chosen language, of course. Then the back end is something to consider because this is very powerful. Not only do we create walking routes that are completely unique to you, but they needn't just be walking routes. They can be foodie tours, shore excursions, fitness trails, cycling routes, which allows you to mix and match and to bring in other partners and stakeholders and sponsors and advertisers and so on. And they can be promoted very easily in the back end. You can create multiple categories, whether it's museums or hotels or dining or entertainment or whatever it is, hundreds of categories. And you can put multiple sponsors underneath that who can all be contributing to the funding of this type of app. And then geotag pop-ups that pop up and say, welcome here, or here's an offer, or what about doing this, or whatever, 2-for-1 offers or whatever, with directional navigation as well that takes them to that venue. Because in a city, everything is navigable using open map sourcing, so all the data comes to you. It's not going to Google Maps, but also allows people to navigate anywhere at any time. And then you've got push notifications that allow you to communicate at any time. You've got web view opportunities with your own app. All of this content, all of this delivery can be delivered right through to your own app, so that that content resides, which helps in the adoption of your app and the take up as well. How does it all work? It's very simple. We issue you with a QR code, which can be for an individual. It can be for a cohort, you know, a particular tour or particular cruise or particular breakdown that you choose, you select, or it can be for absolutely everybody, which is something that destinations often do, just provide one QR code for everybody, and it's funded by local funding, or it's funded by partners that are in there as well. So, you know, many ways of looking at that. But the QR code activated by the camera then takes you straight to the App Store, downloads the app, which costs nothing to download because you've already provided the QR code. It downloads the app, and then the customer chooses the content, because that starts streaming as well. And they choose their language. They select, do they want full download so it operates offline, or do they want light download so that they can stream audio at the particular points they want using data roaming. Or data. That's entirely up to them. It depends where they are and what they're doing at that particular time. Now, what have we got that is happening at the moment in the area of Vox partnership to do with recovery? Well, we've got a lot of partners, especially out of North America. People are starting to look very strongly at taking a flight, a hotel, and a city package, an audio package that allows them to deliver unlimited self-guided sightseeing in that city, wrapped with a flight, wrapped with accommodation. Simple recovery package. That's one of the first opportunities. The second is to add content to Gateway to differentiate what you're doing. So if you've got a tour, add digital content to Gateway so that people have a way to explore when they're there. All of this relies not on any number of guests, not on any number of cost, because it's very inexpensive, but it allows you that differentiation. And then working with transport operators, for example, transfer companies who are competing on a route from an airport to the city where it's just a transport. If you add audio, digital audio, multilingual, as people are traveling in, they're actually having an experience instead of just a transfer. So it transforms the price value proposition of your product. Packaging with third parties like Segway operators, cycling or whatever, creating packages rather than just a rental of a bicycle. You get a package that includes an audio bicycling tour in multiple languages. Expanding language possibilities. If you're doing a walking tour of a city, you're a guide or whatever, or tour operator, you're doing a walking tour. If you bring in other languages as well to be on the same group, then you're consolidating, maximizing your fixed costs and able to generate extra revenue. Bringing venues together in little packages to create little passes, navigable between each one so that people never get lost. Creating new products that take people away from the hotspots. It might be hidden Sydney, hidden Brisbane, hidden Venice, hidden Rome, hidden New York, or whatever. Monetizing free museums, as I said, that's going on right now. In London, the British Museum, the National Gallery are completely free. So by adding an audio content that costs almost cents, it actually changes the whole proposition, allows you to monetize that as a package, an audio package to a museum. And then creating unique opportunities. We're doing quite a bit of that with market tours and tours of quarters of town and unique itineraries that you can think of. So that's some of the stuff that's going on. And there are further innovations out there. I mean, we've been using this slowdown, this lockdown, to finish off a number of other important projects that Vox has been working on. One of them is something called Vox City Walks, and this is launching during June and July in Rome, in Milan, in Venice, and in Florence in Italy. And it's basically a special new concept of walking tours of any city. It can be set up extremely quickly because it's using local experts, escorts, guides, on fixed circuits of a city, and users can jump on and off as they wish. It allows them to join at various different joining points. They know where the guides are located and at the pickup points of a particular tour, and it allows them this flexibility that is so important today. It's fun, enjoyable, flexible, safe, and it's escorted throughout. And then they can break off and do self-guided sightseeing as well. So no time slots, no delays, automatically tracking down tours and so on. So that's one area that is ready and available, and it's something that's going to change, I think, quite a bit of tourism, because there are so many restrictions today on vehicles moving around. There are so many restrictions on on the way people are able to access sites and information. So I think this is interesting. The ideal way of doing this, of course, is 24, 48 or 72-hour type passes. And in Europe, we think the entry level at 24-hour is probably about 20 euros. So it fits in that sweet spot between the expensive and the mid-range. And it allows an opportunity for local people to be involved as well as part of this digital experience in walking tour guiding. Another area that we've been really developing very strongly is wireless. Bring your own device and using wireless to communicate for the group. And that really is driven by something that we've developed called Vox Connect. It's an intelligent smartphone guiding app that has been 5 years in development, and it harnesses all the power of the app and the phone to connect tour guides and their groups. And tour leaders are going to find it very simple to use, and they get crystal clear communication with low latency. Latency is very important. This is the time that the voice takes to reach the device. And it can, with some types of technology, like current Bluetooth technology, take a very long time, because you have to daisy chain devices to do it, which means that every time you move from one device to another device in that daisy chain, you've got more and more and more latency and almost the echo effect happening. So it's really not successful technology at all currently. But what Vox has done is be able to develop this app that's available now for use with existing technology very, very effectively, but also able to be future-proof, because it will work in the future transmission protocols. So it's available for Wi-Fi right now. You don't even need the internet. You just can talk across Wi-Fi, and it is available to be used with the internet too, going up to servers that then take the voice up to the server and deliver it back to the phone using 4G or 5G. And in the future, Bluetooth 5.2, which is the new technology that's coming, it's not available right now, and it's not available on any phones right now at all. And there's going to be this big lag between critical mass of getting everybody's phone on the same platform, which would take some years yet. But 5.2 is the new technology that will allow very fast Bluetooth transmission, and this technology works across that as well. So it's future-proof, it's got no capital costs, and it's a really interesting development for the future. But to deal with this currently, we've also developed another device which is called Vox Box, and this is a really powerful compact Wi-Fi control unit that is portable. It's got portable connectivity. So using Wi-Fi technology in a lightweight shoulder bag with a 10-hour NiCad battery and central processing unit and router and channel selector and bespoke sound system, it allows the guide to connect directly to guest cell phones using Vox Connect as the app that delivers the between the two. And it requires no data connection or internet connection. It's fail-safe connectivity, and it's useful for up to a very large group indeed. Over quite some range, around about 100 meters. So that's something that's available, and it means that you don't need boxes of units, you just have this one small pack. And this is going to be continued to develop. There'll be other opportunities like streaming voice online, for example, video online in the future, which will allow someone in New York to watch a tour guide in Rome doing their thing as they're going around the city. So lots and lots of opportunities, and a tour guide can even mix using Vox Connect. They can actually mix music and video with their voice that they're doing. So lots and lots of things happening in that area. But data, as I said, is where it's at, and what we can do for you is deliver a lot of data. We can deliver intention analysis from in-app surveys that you might choose to conduct. We can deliver App Store data from Apple and Google. We can deliver granular data that comes from GPS and interactivity within the app, the points people are touching, points of interest, that sort of thing, places they visited by language, by time of day, by preference, and so on. And then we've got heat maps that drill right down to street level that show you customer interaction with the destination by language, time, and area visited. Now, all of this is GDPR compliant, and we have no knowledge whatsoever of your customer's personal details. We know nothing about them at all. All we know is we gave you a QR code and you gave it to your customer. We don't ever know who your customer is. So it's trend data, but it's incredibly valuable. This is an example. This is a heat map of Rome here on the left-hand side on your screen. That's a map of Rome showing St. Peter's on the left, but the Castel San Angelo on the right. And you can see how people have done a dog leg with the purple arrow, which is exactly as we asked them to do on the map. And that's to see this building, the Passetto, which is a viaduct the popes use. So we take them there to do it, and people followed that. Here's another one. This is Singapore, and you can see the purple dog leg there again. And that's because we were taking people to see this mural on the wall, the Tian Hock Keng mural wall that runs down the side of a street. And then we bring people back again to visit other sites, and they followed exactly what we're doing. My point here, of course, is that you can channel people using this technology to move them away to hotspots into other areas that you want to develop. So those, I think, are really interesting aspects. What are the next steps? It's very simple, actually. I'm going to hand over to the panel. That's my next step. But Vox is ready to invest our time, our funding, and our skills during this planning period. We don't want money now, this minute. We want to create a tailor-made digital project with you for the aim of helping you set new standards for post-COVID tourism. And when we've done this, and if you're engaged with us 100% in pushing this project through quickly so that we can make this happen, and we can do this in between 4 to 8 weeks, depending on the project, we can develop a new philosophy in the way that we handle our products, about packaging, about using digital experiences to be included with every ticket or every package sold, to change the way the customer can experience their product, to deliver what they are their preferences and their aspirations. And when the tourism project gets going and the tourism restarts, the cost is marginal compared to the new business generated and the profits that you're going to achieve. And you have our assurance that it will deliver the results that you expect, and we'll be with you all the way to be part of that. That's it. Thank you for listening to me. I'm going to hand you back to Andy, who I know has got questions coming in. I can see some on my board here. Andy, do you want to take over? Thank you.
Yeah, John, thank you very much indeed for the fantastic presentation there. And I think that really does outline, obviously, how we're seeing the future from a Vox point of view, and also how we can partner with you out there to help create or help bring you into the new dynamic too. We're moving on now to the question and answer sort of panel session. To make this interactive as well, we've actually got a couple of polls that we'd ask you, the audience, to take part in as well. And we'll actually start with one of those now. So, John, if you can bring the first poll up interactively, you can just select your answer to the question. So the question we've got is, what do you think is the biggest issue facing tourism businesses in the recovery phase? Now, do we think it's the restriction on distancing in venues and attractions? Do we believe it's consumer concerns about hygiene? Or do we think it is uncertain travel patterns and volumes? So what do you think is the biggest issue facing tourism businesses in the recovery phase? So again, just select your answer. Restrictions on distancing in venues and attractions, consumer concerns about hygiene, or uncertain travel patterns and volumes. So we'll leave that there for a few seconds and we will move on with the questions. First question that I have, and we'll start with Francesco on this one. Francesco, just a very quick question. How can we get in touch with you, and what do we actually need to do to start a project?
Okay, thanks Andy, thanks John for the presentation. Getting in touch with us is very easy. You can either send us an email at bitsdep@voxtours.com, or you can contact directly Peter or Dallas on LinkedIn, and then we will understand which are your needs, we will understand which are your goals, and from that we will tailor a project on your needs. So let's get in touch. You can do it by email or by LinkedIn or any other social as you want.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much, Francesco. We've had a question come in as well. I think this one was from Karen. Karen's asked, and I'll direct this at you, Peter. Due to the cost, is this only suitable for package tours or for FIT arrangements that we are putting together?
Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
So the way we work, it's really something that is going to be available for everything. It's important just to understand what the scope of the project is and what solution best fits. Now, we've got many different projects going around the world. So here in Australia, we can talk to you about your specific project, and pretty much we're guaranteed to have found one somewhere else in the world that somebody's done something similar. Non-competing environment, of course, and we can learn off that. But yeah, it works for FITs absolutely beautifully. We know FITs are going to be the first coming back, so that's where a lot of the focus is. But as John's pointed out, it works so well with groups as well, both split between the two.
Fantastic, thank you, Peter. Dallas, anything you would like to comment on the back of that that question there?
I would, if I could, please, Andy. John, terrific presentation. Thank you. I just wanted to add that there's so much information in this webinar, even for myself within the business to digest. So please feel free to discuss. Pick up the phone. Pop us a note. Peter and myself are here in Australia for you. But it's just reflecting back on it. These times are very scary. They're very exciting also. I can remember, I'm sure you can, John, when the fax or the facsimile replaced the telex. Some people were scared. Some people were very excited. But if I can coin an Australian phrase, you're really on a hiding to nothing after that presentation of what we can do for you with no upfront investment. For those creatives out there, you can dream up what you could do for your business with these digital solutions. I just wish that I had access to them when I was operating day tours around Australia. But have a little think about that, and if you think it was crap, I'll coin another Einstein phrase. Horse manure is the best fertilizer. Now, that was Bill Einstein from Penrith. But finally, stay safe, but be brave.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dallas. Just moving on from that as well then. And Francesco, I'll come to you on this one. Is it, so Karen again has Karen asked a question again. Is it possible to see, in fact, I could answer this one actually. Is it possible to see which companies you're already working with so we can see if there are similar companies to ourselves? Karen, my response to that would be very, very simple. I'd ask that you reach out to either Peter or Dallas, have a conversation with them, and they will be able to give you advice on similar companies we've worked with, as Peter said before, and give you very, very good examples of what we've done in certain places as to how we would be able to work with you. What the tools that we have are so flexible and adaptable. They really can sort of suit to anything in any industry and any part of the industry. So my suggestion there is please feel free to reach out and have a conversation. Very quickly, another question that's come in as well. Francesco, somebody's just asking as well, we've already got our own app. How would it work if we, in terms of a second app?
Okay, great. Good question. Actually, we have recently developed the web view functionality, which means that all the pop guide functions can be then included into your app. And this doesn't require difficult API, it doesn't require difficult IT stuff. It's just a matter of adding a link into your app, a button to your app. So if you want to use your app to do the marketing, the communication, and also all the functionality that PopGuide can provide you, that can be done. It's very easy. If you instead want to have two different apps like Facebook and Messenger, like EasyJet and the Wallet app, we can do that as well. We can create a new app, white label for you, which means it has your logo, your name, and your colors. and you can just have two separate apps, yours that does marketing, communication, and whatever your app does, and another one, this one new white label, that does in-destination guiding. So as you wish, if you want to have everything in one place, it can be done very easy, not difficult IT. If you instead want to have two separate apps, it can be possible. I mean, it's possible as well. It depends on your decision.
Fantastic.
Can I maybe just add, Andy, that if you do have your own app, then the ability of using WebView does in fact embellish your own app in many ways as well, because it gives it greater functionality, and you'll get people more interested in using your map as a result, your app as a result of bringing in the Pop Guide content as well. Gives it a lot more.
Fantastic. Yeah, completely agree with that. As we said, we are keeping it interactive. So, John, if we could just bring up the second audience poll as well, we can quickly run through that. Okay, so again, same as the first one, just select your answer. So the question here is, what do you think will be the most positive travel opportunity to come from the crisis? Now, do you think it will be people's new tech skills will drive changes to the product mix? Consumers have used this time to plan new adventures? Or John's favourite, as always, there'll be a new baby boom ensuring future travel growth. So what do you think will be the most positive travel opportunity to come from the crisis? Will it be that people will have new tech skills which will drive changes to the product mix? Consumers have used this time to plan new adventures, or there'll be a new baby boom ensuring future travel growth. So a few seconds there then to select that, and then we will move on to the next question. Peter, I'll ask you this next question that we've had come in. It's an audience question as well. It is, what, in regards to what we spoke about today, what is your suggestion for a small wholesale travel company?
A small wholesale travel company. I think I'm assuming it's international, but it could very well be domestic. But as a smaller business, that's the beauty of how this whole digital side of it works, is you don't necessarily need big numbers behind it. So depending on where you're going, what the kind of product is, it could be a very specialist kind of operator that goes to one particular, town that at the moment only has paper maps. Now, how easy would it be to create a digital map of something that's not Paris, Rome, London, or Sydney, but something a lot smaller that fits your business and your particular requirements? So I can really just say that pick up the phone, let's have a chat, and we'll find something that fits, I would suggest.
Yeah, fantastic. And Peter, I think as well on that, I think it's something that even though you might be a smaller wholesale travel business, we're also looking for something that can, put you above the competition, that can give you that cutting edge. And I definitely think, by offering a tool like Pop Guide in whichever shape or form it fits, then it gives that opportunity as well to be a real bonus to what even a small wholesaler could be doing. And also, as we say with the project piece, with no investment needed up front, just some time spent discussing and looking at what their needs are. Okay, guys. Well, we do try to keep the session to an hour, and we do also like to publish the results of our polls. So, John, very quickly, have we got the results from the polls?
Yeah, we do indeed, Andy. So the first one, let me share this here. It should come up on your screen with a bit of luck. Here we go. There it is. So 27% said restrictions on distancing in venues and attractions will be a big issue, the biggest issue. 9% thought consumer concerns about hygiene. That's an interesting one. And 64% uncertain travel patterns. So that was, I think that, yeah, I'd sort of share those sort of views, I think. Let's have a look at the next one. So 11% new tech skills will drive changes to product mix. Importantly, 89% consumers have used this time to plan new adventures. So certainly some changes ahead. And nobody thought there'd be a baby boom. Well, I don't know. It must be different in Australia to Europe. That's all I can say. We'll hide that. We'll hide that one.
Well, as I said, we do like to keep it to an hour. We appreciate the time that you've spent with us today. If you do have any questions, you'll see on the screen now as well. Please feel free to reach out and contact us at bizdev@voxtours.com. Also visit the website as well, where you'll be able to see brochures in regards to the services that we have. But it draws us to a close quite neatly now. So it's a big thank you from me, Andy. Glad to be here today hosting the panel. From Peter, from Dallas, and Francesco, thank you very much, guys, for joining us today. And finally, John, thank you very much for that fantastic presentation.
Yeah, thank you all. And let's remember, this window is slowly closing. Let's get moving. Let's talk. Thank you.
And more importantly, happy Mother's Day for Sunday, everybody.
Oh.
Cheers.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.